Dear students, let's start the discussion on today's newspaper, that is 5th February 2018. The first article, If the Door Should Shut Now. This is about refugees. How India need to treat its refugees. In recent answer to the Supreme Court by Government of India, it stated that if we allow the refugees, India soon can become a land of refugees. So if we see the India's past, it has treated the refugees of political or religious persecution with compassion. And most of these refugees have come from our neighborhood, not from the very far distant lands. And few of these refugees have enriched India's culture and also made us prosperous. The first among that are Zoroastrians. This came from Iran facing religious persecution. Zoroastrians, that is the Parsis, they have made India as land and sweetened Indian community. Simply to be put as, when Zoroastrians came to India, their leader has promised the Gujarat king that they will try to be like sugar in a pot of milk. It means they will sweeten the Indian society and without any burden on the society, without creating any burden. So Tatas, the Godrej, and then Homi Baba, Punewala, all these people are actually the Zoroastrians. So these are highly entrepreneurial and they have made us prosperous. Similarly, Tibetans, they have brought the spiritual wealth to India. The Tibetans, Dalai Lama facing international persecution, has crossed the border and entered India, and we gave shelter to them at McLeodganj near Dharmashala. And second, if we see on the eastern India, so when East Pakistan was facing persecution from West Pakistan, it gave rise to Bengali nationalism. So these Bengalis have entered into West Bengal, Assam and Tripura, and we provided them with the necessary facilities. South, the Sri Lankan Tamilians, they entered into Tamil Nadu facing persecution from the state Sinhala state there. So if we observe all these, the grounds of providing a refugee settlement in India are mostly the religious or political persecution, not for the economic reasons. And second is, terrorism is flowing into India through refugees is also a myth to an extent. So in this context, India has to follow the Rajadharma. The Rajadharma to treat the people with compassion. That's what this article emphasizes on. Green shoots of renewal. So it talks about Congress renewal in Indian politics. In 2014, Congress was reduced to two-digit number and it did not even have an official opposition status because it failed to gain 10% of the seats in Lok Sabha. So in this context, what are the green shoots? So the green shoots are related to the recent Gujarat and the elections in Rajasthan. Whatever be the case, the author is saying is this: the new Congress has to focus on social justice, growth and unemployment, and then it has to have a pan-Indian appeal rather than reducing itself to a Hindu appeal. So in this context, the article is trying to differentiate between social engineering and social justice. It has reduced the concept of social justice to Dalits, the social engineering this concept to OBC and upper caste integration, which was brought in by BJP. Now let's understand these two terms. 34% of the votes among the OBCs in 2014 election went to BJP. What it signifies to us? So if we observe after 1980s, the Yadavas, they are gaining significance among the OBCs in North Indian politics. So non-Yadava OBCs, they started feeling a sense of alienation and deprivation. This is where BJP was able to gain. And they have socially stitched these non-Yadava OBCs with upper caste Hindus. And second is, today they also want to stitch the lower castes among the Dalits are mostly deprived castes among the Dalits into a social group and mobilize them. So if we carefully observe, the Dalit mobilization in India is always suffered from the instrument of mobilization and the mode of mobilization. There was confusion. The mode of mobilization, it means, does it need to go through the electoral politics or politics of force? Dalit Panthers, these have believed in politics of force. BSP, Republic Party of India, these have more believed in electoral politics to gain to the seat of power. And in this context, the Dalit voting is our voters are not consolidated as surrounding a party. They are divided among Congress, BSP, and many other parties in India. So the Dalit consolidation is only happened in favor of the reservations. OBC consolidation has happened in favor of the reservations. So reservations and opportunities, these are becoming the instruments of social justice now. But what was the problem with this? What are the other pathways for achieving the social justice? We never explored. We always have dependent on the caste question. And second thing is the issues of poverty and unemployment and other material deprivation. This got subsumed under the caste question in India. So many of the governments, instead of talking about the developmental politics, these are more interested in caste politics in India. So finally, the caste identity has become an important factor for mobilization. So these are the politics of social justice that have happened in India till now. So if the Congress wants to acquire the power again at the center, it needs to create its own social base based on concerns of justice in the society. That's what this author talks about. Crisis in Malay. This is about Maldives and recent incidents. And Abdul Amin, the president of Maldives, is not ready to accept the Supreme Court orders over there. The Supreme Court has ordered recently to release the political prisoners and also to conduct the elections. And it also requested the government to convene Majlis, the parliament there. So, Amin government is not ready for this. And the Attorney General there stated that we will follow the constitution, not the court orders. That shows the rejection of the government. This puts the democracy there in danger. And Indian government has no leverage in Maldives as of now. The Prime Minister Modi has cancelled its trip to Maldives, and it is the only country which Prime Minister did not visit among our neighborhood. So, in the best interest of the Maldives, what we can advise is the democracy has to be established and it has to take the roots, and the opposition shall be allowed to survive. That's what we can suggest to it. And limited succor. This is about the protection and benefits given to the old age population. Remember, it's the duty of every culture to protect its senior citizens with honor. Or duty of every culture is to or else has to treat its senior citizens with respect, dignity, and honor. That's how we can state it as. So, in this context, what are the problems of the senior citizens? One are hospitals, income, and then care. So, in this, the hospital is the major expense for them. So, the government of India, it has provided for interest or income tax subvention on the interest which is earned by them through the banks or the other instruments. Up to 50,000 rupees, they have this income exemption. And second thing, on income, there is 50,000 deduction on the money which is spent for hospital expenses or insurance premiums. So this shows that the country is caring for the old age population. But old age population is not just salaried class. The old age population lives in rural India. So the government have forgot the plight of these people who are living in rural India and their deprivations. That's what this article talks about. Author is, Now coming to understanding the HPV vaccine. HPV stands for human papilloma vaccine. So any vaccine, it consists of killed germs so that it can generate the immunity for that body. Let's simply remember over here how the vaccine functions. It consists of certain the proteins. These proteins will stimulate our immune system. The immune system so stimulated will remember these proteins. If tomorrow the same virus enters the body, as immune system has remembered it, it can attack that particular germ with an effective force. This is how vaccine occurs. Vaccine functions. Sometimes this particular dead organisms from which protein is taken may cause many untoward side effects. And HPV also has reported to have caused some side effects, but there is no scientific proof to it. You don't need to remember what are the side effects of HPV, etc. But remember that the HPV vaccine can cause certain side effects. Here we need to understand about the ethical aspects related to clinical trials. And most of the times when clinical trials are conducted, these are taken up by the companies which are producing the drug itself. They obviously have a conflict of interest. They want to get the favorable treatment from the regulatory agencies for their drugs. They may hide certain facts related to it. So in this context, if we see the HPV vaccine from Indian context, it is better to go forward. The reason is the incidence of cervical cancer caused by human papilloma virus is very high in India. So, to beat this cervical cancer, we shall be able to introduce the vaccine in universal immunization program of India. That's what this article talks about. Now, Alam Beg, martyr of Sepoy Mutiny, wants to return home. So, in 1857, when Sepoy Mutiny has happened in India, so few of the Sepoys are beheaded and their heads are being taken to London as a war gift. So, one of that Sepoy was Alam Beg, and his skull is there in a pub in London. So, that's what this article talks about. The Maldivian government remains defiant amid political crisis. So, you already know that the Abdullah Yemen, the Prime Minister, the President of Maldives, is not ready to listen to the Supreme Court orders with regard to opening of the Majlis and conducting of its sessions and releasing of the political prisoners. This article, easier norms may help Indian firms go global. Here the word you need to remember is outward direct investment. We are talking FDIs, foreign direct investments, as inward direct investments. Similarly, outward direct investments, it means Indians who are investing abroad. So if Indian companies has to go MNCs, they also shall invest abroad. But what was the concern for liberally allowing ODIs by government of India? So there is something called round tripping is the word used over here. What is meant by round tripping? The money of Indians, it may go outside as ODI and it may come back to India as an investment again. So ODI going and coming back as FDI and gaining benefits from the government, this is what can be a round tripping. The government of India is worried about this round tripping. This article, agricultural needs more than quick fixes. So this article is criticized about recent decision on minimum support price. So why this article is criticizing? So the minimum support price is issued for all crops and it will be 50% and over and above the production cost. That's what we have stated. So what are the quick fixes? The article says this rise in MSP is a populistic measure rather than a thought out measure to reduce the agricultural distress, because it is going to raise the costs of Indian grain in the Indian market and abroad. So this makes our agricultural products uncompetitive. That is the author's argument. In the long run, India has to focus on mechanization, increased productivity, development of rural infrastructure and marketing of agricultural products. This is what has to play an important role. That's what the author says over here. In the last page, I gave you the notes that will be available to you at laix.in/CivilsPrep. Thank you very much and all the best.